Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. We meet each week, and you can type your questions in the chat, ask about pronunciation of English, American English accent, sounds, words, anything to help you improve your overall communication in American English. At the beginning today, I want to talk about the word acknowledge. This was a recent request, and I'd also like to acknowledge all of you viewers, members, subscribers. I do really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for your comments, for liking my videos, sharing them, and subscribing to the channel. Your support is extremely helpful to me. So looking at the word acknowledge, in the word acknowledge, we have just the word knowledge. And this is a case where that root word knowledge doesn't change. So it's the same in the word knowledge as in the word acknowledge. That can be helpful because sometimes we have words where we see a hidden word within the word, but the pronunciation is different. In this case, if you know how to pronounce knowledge, you can also easily pronounce acknowledge. And in fact, I recommend starting with the word knowledge because the stress is on the null syllable. And that means that any word that starts doesn't have first syllable stress. It's helpful to start where the word is stressed and then build from there. That would sound like knowledge, acknowledge. You can hear how that first syllable, that AC syllable, that ik time, or that ACK, it's really quite short. In the dictionary, they have it written as vowel schwa, which would sound like acknowledge. I think that's a little bit dark, and we tend to do a little bit more of an ik or an ek, a little more forward with that vowel. But really, just having any short reduced vowel is the most important thing. That the null syllable is long, that vowel is clear, and then I just start with a little reduced vowel, acknowledge, acknowledge. You can think of this as just like a little stepping stone. Then you can see here in that stressed syllable, I've written two different options. Because the vowel ah, like in saw, and the vowel ah, like in, I guess I didn't use a good example here. So we often use the words caught for the ah vowel and caught for the ah vowel. These two vowels have merged in some places in the US. And so you may hear acknowledge or acknowledge. I think I do something a little in between. I'm not really doing a strong ah in this word like saw. But if I think about the word gnaw, like to gnaw on a bone, and acknowledge, I am using the same vowel for both of those. So I use the ah. In the dictionary, you may see the ah or the ah. Whichever one you can do easily, you can use here in this word, acknowledge. And then lastly, the end of knowledge looks like the word ledge that has the red tent vowel, but it actually has, this is incorrect, not an e, but an I, and actually has the higher I vowel like in it. And so, and then the final DGE sounds like j. This is the symbol for that sound. We spell it with letter J at the start of words and with GE or DGE at the ends of words. So thinking about ij, lidge, acknowledge. Again, noticing that these two are short, have the reduced vowels, and then my stress is here on the na or naw syllable, depending on which vowel you use there. So thank you for that request. I'm going to turn now to your questions for today. Do feel free to put your question in the chat at any time. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can put your questions in the comments and I'll follow up with you with answers later on. Nice to see everyone here. Thank you for your greetings this morning. We have a question about idid, first of all. So, for example, this viewer is asking about it'd, like it'd be nice, it'd be great, it'd be wonderful. That's a very common contraction used in speech, and it stands for it would. So often we use it together with to be, it would be, it'd be. We can also use it with have, it'd have for, it'd have to. With have to, it'd, I think it's most common to say it with it'd be. And so the way it sounds, it'd, because I can't do a T and a D together without a vowel sound in between, it sounds like vowel I. And then because there is that vowel there before the D, it's a schwa, it'd. It's a T, but we use it as a flap. So actually thinking of it as it'd, that both of those just are like D sounds, it'd, is a good way to think of it. It'd be great. It'd be wonderful. It'd be cold that day. That's less common. So it's usually used for subjunctive, something that hasn't happened yet. And then you also asked about the word ain't, and we basically don't use that. It's grammatically incorrect. You may hear it in some dialects of English and some slang, but typically you want to just avoid it. It's even as slang, I think it's pretty dated. Maybe you might still hear it in some regions, in some particular groups in their dialect, but it's not grammatically correct, and so you want to use isn't rather than it ain't hot today, it isn't. I think you see that sometimes in older movies or TV or older books where that was the slang and it was incorrect, but it was kind of cool. And now I would say it ain't cool anymore. I've never said it except for in explaining it to you now, or it's not something that you hear typically. Now, I may be incorrect, as I said. Maybe someplace where you are, you might be hearing it, in which case it means the same thing as isn't, and you would only use it when you were talking with people casually who also use it. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. Okay, we have a question about the word hesitate. So some things to know about hesitate. It has first syllable stress. This first letter E is going to say the vowel, like in head or red. Letter S in hesitate is one of these letter S's that says the Z sound. So thinking about that as a Z. And then we're going to have either an I or a schwa here. Hesitate. For whatever reason, probably because we have secondary stress on the 8 syllable and that clear vowel, we have a true T in hesitate. So I don't change it to a D or a flap. It's not like hesitate. Or it's not a stop T either. It's just like if I were saying the word Tate or the name Tate. And then we have the A is diphthong, longer vowel there. So I would write it kind of like Tate with a little bit of length on that last vowel. And of course, as you know, the T at the ends of words, hesitate. I might do a stopped T that ends up not really releasing the air there. Or we can do a true T. It depends on how you're using it. If I'm saying, I hesitate every time I talk, I hesitate in, then I might link it and turn it to a flap. Or I hesitate to say, I'm going to use a stop T for that final T. Good word. Thank you for that request. Ain't. I am not, or am not. It ain't. So it isn't, I guess ain't can stand in for the different versions of to be. So it ain't would be it isn't. I ain't. I am not. So it's just the am, the conjugations of the verb to be. Okay. Great. So we have a question about advice to learn phrasal verbs and idioms, and how to learn as many as possible quickly. Generally, it's going to be my same advice for learning English in general. The more you use and speak English, the more you listen to it, the more you read and write. If you're trying to learn specifically idioms and phrasal verbs, I think it's best to learn those naturally through reading and listening, because oftentimes when people try to use them and they're not comfortable with them that yet, they may get them wrong. And unfortunately, with idioms in particular, the exact wording of the idiom has to be right, or it sounds worse. It sounds worse to use an idiom incorrectly than to not use an idiom at all. For example, if I were going to say, that really takes the cake, that takes the cake. If I accidentally said that took the cake, or this one doesn't have too many different variations, but often you'll hear non-native speakers trying to use an idiom and they get one word wrong, and then it sounds very strange to a native speaker. So for idioms, take it slow, use the ones that you hear people around you using that you like the sound of, and don't try to use them artificially. For phrasal verbs, I would just learn kind of sets of verbs at a time. So for example, let's use take again. Thinking about take off, take up, take on, take over, take in. When you learn the word take, start practicing how to use it with the different phrasal verbs. So there are phrasal verb dictionaries. Again, the more you're reading and using English for real terms, you'll find which ones of these you need to use. If you're just trying to memorize lists of words, it's not going to be as helpful as if you're using them to interact and to communicate. And especially listening to what people around you use can help you. So if you hear people using these, you're not sure exactly what they mean, write them down, go home, look them up, try to use them and create them in your own sentences. It's challenging to learn a lot of these types of phrases quickly. And so I think, try not to be in too big of a hurry, but to take on a few at a time and find the ones that are most useful for you. And just notice which ones you're hearing around you, because those will be the ones that you'll find the most useful. And when you use something, then you understand the meaning better, you can remember it better, versus trying to learn lists of words and memorize. They won't really come to you easily when you're trying to speak, so you won't have actually really learned them. Okay, we have a question about the word through, and this is hard for this viewer. Yes, it's a difficult word because of the THR. And this has the same pronunciation as this word through. So if that helps you, it might be also that the OUGH is confusing, because we use that in words like tough and rough to be the uff sound. And in this word, it's the oo sound. So you can think of them both, kind of visualize them like this. You see that in like drive through, right? That's an incorrect spelling, but it might represent the sounds a little better for you. So the sounds in through, either as in through the ball or going through the drive through, are the voiceless TH, the R, and the oo. So that's the other thing. It's only 3 sounds. So try to kind of ignore the fact that there's so many letters there and think of just the sounds. When there's a TH and an R together, the R is more important. So start with your R and say your R and your vowel. So you're going to say oo, roo. When you say roo, feel that your tongue is back in that tight back American R position. And then when I try to add the TH, I just have to sneak my tongue forward, but get right back into that R. If I take too much time, it's going to sound like through, and there's going to be a vowel between the two of them. I really just want roo, through, through. So you may be coming too far forward with the TH to get that R. But if I say the R first, it sets up my tongue to be in the right spot and to return back to that spot. I do have a video specifically on the word through and throw, three, how to do that THR combination. And coming up, I have one where I'm going to talk about threaten and thread, some other THR words. So check those out in our Word of the Day playlist and just work your way through those steps. Hopefully that will help that word become easier for you. Once you can say through, don't forget to practice in some phrases as well, because you might get it by itself and then you're trying to talk and saying, it didn't go through, I need to go through this. you might find that it doesn't come out easily for you, but the more you've said through this, go through, common combinations with through, that's going to really help it become more of a habit to use it and pronounce it correctly with that new way. And you may just need to slow down a little bit on that word in sentences at first, and then the hope is you'll be able to speed back up because that motor patterning is there for you and it becomes easier to say through the more you do it. Great word. Thank you for that request. All right, we have a question about dropped D. Yesterday I heard British dropping all ending D. My friend is in China. I copied all the information I could. Does it happen in American English? So if I'm saying a word like friend, what I'm going to do with the D depends on what comes next. So if I say my friend is in China, my friend is, I'm going to say that D because it's going to link to the word is. So it's going to sound like friend is, my friend is. If I'm just saying he's my friend, I'm still going to say that D there because otherwise he's my friend sounds strange to me. He's my friend. I might not release the D. It might be a stopped D. He's my friend. But more likely than not, when it's an ND, you'll hear a little D, my friend. My friend has to. The time that you might hear it the least is when it's followed by a consonant. So if I say my friend takes the bus or my friend has to, I might stop that D, my friend takes. So I'm going to stop the N very short, put my tongue in the D spot to mark that D. My friend takes, my friend has, my friend has. That's where it might sound a little bit dropped. But if it's my friend is, the D is going to be there to link it. So stop sounds at the ends of words basically all follow the same rules of being unreleased when they're by themselves often, released into the vowel if they're followed by a vowel, or stopped and released into the consonant if they're followed by a consonant. I can send you the link for a video where I recently covered the D sound, the G sound, the B sound, all of the stop sounds at the ends of words. And that may be helpful for you as well. When you're asking about I copied all information I could, I'm going to use that stop D, copied all. I'm going to use that linked D. So whether or not you hear the D, it's not going to be fully dropped. I'm not going to say I could or my friend with a long consonant. In those clusters, it'll depend on what comes after that stop sound. Great question. Thank you. Okay. So hopefully that explains the answer for if there's a rule to drop the D and how that works. We have a question about the word ridiculous. So ridiculous. So a couple of patterns to watch out for in this word. Second syllable stress, which means that first vowel is either going to be a schwa or an I. It's probably going to be in the dictionary as an I sound, ridiculous. You can think of it as a schwa sound, just because you're going to put your stress on that second syllable with the clear vowel there. So then it's going to be, and then here for the letter U, the ridiculous, this is a place where we have no letter for it, but we do have a gliding y sound. We're not going to use a clear U there, ridiculous, but ridiculous. It's going to be a schwa and another schwa in the final syllable. So it's going to sound like ridiculous or less. Basically, all of these unstressed vowels are going to be reduced vowels. They can be anywhere between the I and the ridiculous. It can help to start on that stress syllable, ridiculous. So I would say one thing to watch out for is that sound, and then just making sure that you have the rhythm correct and that your length is on that second syllable. Good word. Thank you for that request. Okay, we have a question about the pronunciation of the word length and whether I need to pronounce the G. No, you don't want to pronounce the G in the word length because the G is part of one sound, the ng sound in this word. So I call that the NG sound. It sounds like ng. It's with the back of the tongue lifting. You'll see in the dictionary that length, even though it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters, it has 4 sounds. So NG, say this sound, like in sing, and TH, say the th sound. So only 4 sounds. So you don't want length, length. It would be really hard to say the G in that word, actually. And I think sometimes people think about N and G as being 2 sounds. In a lot of words, they're one sound, like in sing or singer, just one sound, not singer. I do have a lot of videos talking about the different things that NG can do, because sometimes they can say, like in finger, they do say the NG sound and the G sound. In that case, the N is more the NG and the G is the G. Finger versus singer and length. Hopefully that's helpful for you. It's mostly because we spell that one sound with 2 letters, but we don't always follow the same patterns and rules for how to do NG. So check out my videos for NG. You might also find our Sounds of American English course to be helpful. That's on our website, speechmodification.com. In that course, I go through all of the sounds of English, talk about accent error patterns you may have on them and how to correct those, talk about how the sounds are spelled. So it's a great way to build a foundation for all of the sounds of English, to help you pronounce any word that you want easily using the dictionary or just decoding the words based on the sounds that you hear. Check it out on speechmodification.com. All of our online courses are either free or available for under $2. So they're a really good, inexpensive resource for you. Okay, let's take a few more questions. We have a question about the word 8. So this viewer is saying when they say the word 8, people hear like I'm saying a instead of 8. That's also probably going to be true for this word 8, right? The same pronunciation for those two. So the way to watch this is that I'm never going to drop the T entirely. So if they're hearing a, what's happening is you're holding that vowel too long and it sounds like a. When I'm saying 8, even if I don't say 8 and put that T on solidly, if I'm just saying it with a stopped T, like 8, I'm lifting my tongue up, and that makes this vowel short. You can hear the difference if I say a and 8, even if I don't release the T, I'm going to have my tongue go up to make the T and no air is going to come out. So you want to make sure that that vowel is short. As soon as I say a and I let it trail off, it's not going to sound correct. Again, just like I was talking about with Eddie's question about the D at the end, the T doesn't ever really drop in American English. So what it's going to do is if I say, for example, 8 is my favorite number, I'll link it. 8 is, and then this turns into a flap and it sounds more like a D, which ends up sounding like 8 is enough. 8 is my favorite. The T, when it links to a vowel, turns into a flap and it sounds like a D. When it links to a consonant, if I say 8 people, that's where I'm going to use that stopped T. I'm not going to say 8 people with a clear T and a break between the two. I'm going to just go up to make that T and then release right into the P of people. 8 people. 8 people are coming. 8 times. 8 lights. It depends on what follows next. And then if it just ends, I have 8. I'm likely to do that unreleased T. My strategy for people that have a challenge making these stop Ts is just to use a really light little T. 8 people, 8 people, when you're practicing. So trying saying it with a true T, 8, big burst of air, then try saying it with a really light, soft T, 8. And then eventually see if you can just go up like you're thinking the T, like it's there, 8, but don't let it out. You can learn more how to do that in our Sounds of English course. I walk you through all of the different things that T does at the ends of words and in the middle of words because it's complicated, and it is one of the pieces of American English that's very indicative of the American accent. It's one of the places that we're different from British English, how we do those T's, how we link them, how we say them in the middle and the ends of words. And it's something that if you don't do it exactly the way a native speaker does, it will sound like the T is just missing, and then it will be hard for people to understand you. They will hear A instead of 8. Great question. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a question about the words cup, cap, and cop. So for cup, excuse me, we have vowel schwa, that sounds like a. For cap, we have vowel a, that's the same as in the word cat. And then for cop, we have vowel a, like in hot or father. What I would say is it can be hard to go cup, cap, cop using those 3 words together. So pair them with another word to help you. For example, you could say a cup or some cups, that cap. So you have that a or black cap, getting that vowel to match. And then not a cop or father's a cop, just to be able to match that vowel. Because as soon as I go and don't change anything between them, cup, cap, cop, it becomes quite challenging. But when I say, you're not going to have as much trouble making the difference between some and black or that and father, you can hear those vowel differences more easily. So use those words that are different to help you with the words that seem similar and that are the same. And also, the more words I know that have this ah vowel, the more in my mind I can say, okay, that's a not hot vowel. Ah, I can visualize the letter A if that's how they spell. That's how I spell that vowel in my language. It can really help me get oriented to that vowel. Cap, I can think about apple or black, something that I know solidly what the vowel sound is. And then same thing with cup, getting that vowel schwa really solid with these everyday words that have those vowels. Yeah, and generally I think that also identifying which vowels you may be saying wrong across all of the vowel sounds, and then which ones may be confusing because of how they're spelled. Of course, obviously letter A and letter O can say lots of different vowel sounds in English. So having a way to orient to what is the vowel you're going for and then what it should sound like is how I would handle that. Thank you. Great question. Okay. We have a similar question about cut versus caught. So cut is the same one that we were just talking about in cup, vowel schwa, and then caught is vowel ah. We weren't talking about that just now, but we can. That I think of as ah, like saw or law, AW. So the cut is central and the caught is further back, and my lips are rounded. That's the difference between those two. And often we also have people asking about caught versus caught. That's the ah vowel that we were talking about in the beginning when we were talking about acknowledge being either an ah or an ah. These are the two that have merged somewhat for some dialects of English. So you may hear people doing something in between the two of them. What I would say is that for something like caught, try to maintain the rounding and then make sure that you don't have any rounding when you're saying something like caught. In terms of overall pronunciation, many people, when they're trying to say a schwa, like in cut, they open too far and they're too tense. because your native language may not have this lax central sound. So then your tongue drops down too low, you open your mouth too wide, and when you're saying cut, it might sound too much like caught. That's very typical error pattern. I do have a video talking about vowel schwa and vowel ah, what those contrasts are and how to make that. And then, of course, also videos for this merger between caught and caught. So again, the same strategy that helped with cup, cap, and cop can help here. You can use, for example, a fun cut or much cut or just cut, getting vowels that are the same. Law caught, I saw them get caught, and not a caught or father's caught, whatever word helps you get oriented to what vowel sound you're looking at in those words. Okay, couple more questions and then we need to wrap up for this morning. So we will be back again next Saturday. Now, each week, our weekly class is going to be on Saturdays rather than on Fridays. Hopefully that will work for you. You can also ask questions throughout the week, and I'll add your words to my Word of the Day playlist. Our channel members can ask questions throughout the week at any time, and I'll answer them for you in our channel members classes on Sundays. If you haven't yet checked out channel membership, it's a great way to get a little bit extra, some perks, some videos made just for members, and just a faster turnaround time on your requests. Okay, we have a question about words ending in ture, like adventure and future. Sure. So when we have T-U-R-E, it looks like tour or something like there would be a T there, but future, this is actually pronounced as a CH and an ture. So future, few, in that word we have a y sound, so it sounds like you, few, future. Adventure, thinking of it just as being a CH sound. In the dictionary, you're going to see that. That's the symbol for CH, and then that's the symbol for the sound, future, adventure. So avoid doing anything ooh-like, and there's no T sound except that the ch, my tongue does start in the T position and drop to the SH position. It's all one sound, though, the ch sound. Future, adventure, nature, etc. Good question. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for a great class today. It's so nice to see so many of you here, and really great questions, a lot of helpful information. I think that will help others, not just those of you who've asked questions, but others who are watching can learn a lot from the different things you asked today. I'll be back again next week with this same live class. And of course, tomorrow we'll have our Word of the Day class and our members only live class. That's the Sunday class for channel members. Thanks so much for being a part of class, for all your comments, suggestions, likes, and shares. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to the channel, and a special shout out to our channel members. Looking forward to seeing you in our next class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks for a great class.